Hey everyone, so I want to talk about the next 48 hours, which is going to be quite transitional. We have Saturn going retrograde tomorrow at 14 degrees Aries, and then we also have the lunar nodes, the North Node and the South Node, moving from Virgo Pisces into Leo Aquarius. And the next day, July 27th, we're going to have the Sun in opposition to Pluto. So those are the three things that I kind of want to cover for what is going on in the next 48 hours currently. We have Saturn retrograde, which I'll talk about first. In Aries, 14 degrees, and it will be there till December 10th, so it's going to be about a good 5 months. So during this time with Saturn retrograde, we have to prepare ourselves to man up and take responsibility. That is what Saturn's duty is when it is especially retrograde. There can be a tendency with Saturn retrograde that we have to learn is that we need to be saying no when we have a habit of saying yes. So defining clear boundaries over this next 5 months is also a very crucial thing for Saturn retrograde. A lot of some old karmic residue, old patterns may resurface during Saturn retrograde that are things that we've already have moved away from or have outgrown, but it's there to kind of come back to test us to see that we are still worthy and whether or not we will fall back into them or not. So Saturn retrograde is also a time where it's Saturn energy is very much scanning to see who deserves what and why. You know, it's scanning to see who is and isn't stepping out of their comfort zones and their patterns, and who deserves what. I mean, Saturn, while it's retrograde, really doubles down on its energy, on its karma. So being that it's in Aries at 14 degrees, those who have strong cardinal placements, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and also Aquarius, who's ruled by Saturn. Capricorn is also ruled by Saturn, so they kind of, in a sense, get a little bit of a double whammy here. But those 5 signs will feel Saturn's retrograde energy doubling down with more intensity on them. Not that it's a bad thing. I mean, just Saturn retrograde is very much about just really stepping up your game and keeping you on your toes. You know, so we have this going for the next 5 months, and it can feel a bit like a slow, heavy, and somewhat burdensome time. But what it is that this is kind of, I look at this Saturn retrograde as being kind of the very last endurance push, test of our endurance. I feel like we've, as humanity, over many years now, we've had to kind of like we started to like slip into feeling like those who are spiritual and who grow have been struggling with pain and suffering and the relationship with pain and suffering, because I think a lot of spiritual people fighting their battles and trying to grow and elevate during especially these last few years have struggled with really questioning like their relationship with suffering. Like, okay, all this pain, all this suffering that I'm enduring, when it used to fuel me, it used to motivate me, it used to help me, I used to have a good relationship with transmuting it. But over the last few years, it's like a lot of us spiritual people can feel like, you know, like what's the end goal here? What's the outcome? When are things going to actually when am I going to get to where a place where I am content enough to feel good enough about myself and my situation and my life and my experiences. And I think, and I hope that this Saturn retrograde is actually the last test of our endurance to get by, to really learn this patience. Because now that it's in Aries and it has completely created a new karmic cycle around the zodiac, it's its first time retrograde. So it's going to endure its first test in its first brand new cycle. And it's now scanning for all that new karma to come in, and who deserves what, and who deserves the good and who deserves the bad. It's going to dish it out. So I think that Saturn retrograde is really going to help bring in a much relieving reward to us at the end of it, in around December, when it goes direct again. And tomorrow, also the same day. Oh, well, real quick, I do want to. I this is worthy of explaining. Is I tend to use the mean node. There's two different calculations for the north and south nodes, and I tend to use the mean node, which is, about sometimes close to about 2 degrees off in separation from the calculation of the true node, which is usually the default of most astrology alignments and placements when you look up to see where the nodes are. I tend to look at the mean node that's always going retrograde, the average motion of the nodes. The true node shows the exact position, but it goes direct sometimes, randomly for just a little while. And I like the mean position, but that the nodes will be changing on the mean position on August 18th. But for most astrologers and most people are knowing the nodes are moving out from Leo and Aquarius from Virgo and Pisces by tomorrow. So either way, the nodes are shifting signs for 18 months. And whether or not they are moving out truly tomorrow based on the true node calculation, or on August 18th based on the mean node calculation, they're going to be moving in. So I might as well just talk about them as if they are moving out tomorrow, whether I believe the other calculation is better. Anyway, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this. So over the last 18 months, we've had the South Node in Virgo and the North Node in Pisces. And what we have collectively supposed to learn and evolve from was that we were supposed to surrender control. We were supposed to learn that these high standards and these perfectionism of Virgo that we have undergone, and having to make sure everything was a certain way and lived up to a certain standard, and trying to control things in that way, we were supposed to be learning how to surrender control to the higher planes of consciousness and trust into the universe at the North Node in Pisces. And much of our routines, much of our self-improvement routines and tasks and stuff of that nature, we got a little tired of doing them, trying to, always keep up with the self-improvement all the time and the control. And at some point, this sense of higher purpose needed to be grounded with the enlightenment and the compassion and the spirituality of the higher consciousness of Pisces. And we may have gotten a little bit too stagnant with trying to keep up with all our health routines, our self-improvement, and we were kind of pushed into letting go of some of the standards, kind of just understanding that things are okay. I think I can let go of this, and I can, kind of allow the universe to understand it's got my back, and not everything has to be so certain and organized in the way that I think it has to be, or that we think it has to be. And that's something that we are moving away from with the North Node in Pisces, the South Node in Virgo. And now, for the next 18 months, the South Node will be in Leo, and the North Node will be in Aquarius. And I spoke a little bit about this energy a bit as it related to Jupiter and Pluto in opposition in Leo Aquarius. But it's definitely going to be more so the issue with the nodes here for the next 18 months is that with the South Node in Leo, it's very important for us to understand that we cannot be living life for our own pleasure and for just ourself and what is self-centered and self-related into our own life. We can't be anymore. We're here to learn karmically and evolve through no longer waking up excited and living life to just, that new video game that came out, I can't wait to play it, or the new season of my favorite television show, or, I can't wait to get my season passes for Disneyland and go, multiple times a week, and just live for those reasons, or like, I'm going to go out and drink with the boys and, get real drunk and have a good time, and stuff like that. Like that is the South Node in Leo, where we're too self-involved and we relate too much to our own life and our own pleasures in life. And the North Node in Aquarius is all about being a part of something bigger, being a part of the collective for humanity to collaborate with and to grow something of meaningful value with a cause that you are fighting for or supporting, and growing in a network, meeting like-minded people that want to help you venture into your chosen cause that will help aid the world, and take a step back as the performer and the leader, and being seen and wanting the attention, and flow as a part of a team player. That is what our lesson is. Because if we're living, like I was saying, too much like we are living for our own pleasure and our own enjoyment all the time, the back end of that is pain and suffering. You know, we can't be living riotously and living selfishly without causing problems or having to pay for it later, you know? And the reason why humanity is in the state it's in is because most people live this way. They live to, you know, for the pursuit of pleasure and trying things just for their own selfish experience. You know, so the North and South Node in Aquarius and Leo is very much about that. We need to understand that we are a part of a broader idea here, a bigger plan for humanity and the universe at large. Because coming from the North Node in Pisces, the North Node in Aquarius, now that we've learned to trust the universe, take a step back from control and surrender to the higher planes and the divine, we can now trust the plan and the goal of humanity and be assisted by that. And the interesting thing is that Saturn being retrograde, the North Node, Aquarius, is ruled by Saturn. So a lot of assistance working behind the scenes to move the Saturn retrograde forward with the North Node in Aquarius forward, coming together. So a lot of things related to karmic things. Just tomorrow, July 26th, the nodes and Saturn retrograde. Those are two positions that are the most karmic. And they're shifting gears tomorrow. One goes retrograde, one changes signs in a new shift. And the next day we have Sun opposition to Pluto. And now with that, the Sun in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, there are now the darkness of Pluto is swallowing the light down to its depths and creating these opposing forces to the sun, to the way we live, to our will, to our pride, to our consciousness. It is taking it is opposing it has opposing forces that is bringing the sun down to the underworld for balance between Leo and Aquarius. So it's all about finding our true colors and shining bright in our authenticity unapologetically. And really, I think what it is taking our sense of pride and ego at Leo and really authenticating it for humanity to experience its role as a part of the collective and not just a part of itself, to really purify and authenticate that into balance. I think what it is that we need to step away from our pride and our ego and our self-serving, self-centered energies with the Sun in Leo. And now with the Pluto and Aquarius, it's taking it down to the underworld to really authenticate that at the start of the lunar nodes that is happening tomorrow in this axis. So we got to really think about, what are we being too prideful about that is hindering us from reaching to the broader horizon and the bigger collective goal of what Pluto and Aquarius is actually really asking us. So right off the bat, Leo and Aquarius are getting hit with Pluto and the Sun, and you know, the end degrees are starting with the nodes because they go retrograde, and this Sun Pluto is more in the beginning degrees, but either way they're still in resonance, and we are already starting off with a bang with Pluto dragging this energy down to its depths of the underworld and running it through its filter to deliver us from darkness into the light of the sun. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to share the next 48 hours of the sun opposite Pluto, which is on the 27th, and then tomorrow the 26th, Saturn moving in retrograde, and the lunar nodes in a Leo and Aquarius. And you know, there's some grand lessons, you know, that we are going to learn, and with Saturn retrograde we're going to have to make a lot of adjustments, attitude adjustments. We're going to have to adjust our sails a lot during this time. I'm not saying that it's going to be like an in-your-face type of personal planet retrograde where just things are just like happening and frustrating you so much. Not so much like that, but it's going to be more of just a slower, steadier, challenging aspect that feels a little heavy, but ultimately builds character. Especially being in Aries, it's all about us character building this bolder, more independent, stronger, innate sense of self and identity of Aries, really from the root up. And that's what it's here to work on for us for the next, and prepare us for the next 5 months. And so we can't rush the process, because the Aries impulsivity is not going to be a part of Saturn being retrograde. So we can't rush the process of what we're trying to build. You know, we just got to work with it. So anyway, I will leave it there. I will talk about July 29th, the full moon in Aquarius. I'll make a video for that. That's going to be a pretty loaded full moon, so stay tuned for that one. But I'll leave this here for now. So for all of you guys, don't just take care, but give care too. And I will see you on the next video.